you've warned about electronic Pearl Harbor more than 30 years ago. Looking at today's landscape, was the threat misunderstood or was it simply ignored?
The semantics, the terminology of electronic Pearl Harbor didn't go over very well back in '91. Um, there was a period of years where I was Chicken Little. Oh, you're overstating the problem. It's not that bad. Security and all that. So some people decided to get hung up on the semantics of the term Pearl Harbor. But when you really look at Pearl Harbor, it was a kinetic event, long term planning, stealthy, quiet until bang. So, under that premise, a cyber Pearl Harbor, we've probably experienced a lot of them. Individual companies have experienced them. What is a blackout that takes out half of Canada, half of the northeast of the US? That is a cyber electronic Pearl Harbor event. It was not the attack and all that. And God, I remember CNN called me up on that one. And they said, well, who are the terrorists behind this? And I said, it's a tree in Ohio. How do you know that? Because I know the old 1920s power grid. So some people get hung up on the term Pearl Harbor. And I'm working on a new book called Cognitive Pearl Harbors, in fact. And if I get their attention and we have the discussion, that's what's important. Back in the early 90s, the lack of education, what we call now the awareness of the cybers, it was virtually non-existent. Similar to what we're experiencing today when we try to talk about cognitives. It's a whole new area that people are not familiar with and also makes them very, very uncomfortable. So for me, it's a rinse and repeat. Did a Pearl Harbor electronic one affect the entire United States yet? No. However, when we look at some of the alleged attacks by adversaries against portions of our critical infrastructures, I tend to side with the folks that believe that they are embedded in some of our critical infrastructures, and if it really came down to it, pushing a couple buttons here and there can do stuff. But a cognitive Pearl Harbor can also be individual. It can also be a sudden epiphany, a religious event, a political switch, a sudden awareness of something. And that can happen at the personal level, it can happen at the corporate level, and it can happen at the societal level as well. So I'm going to stick with my term, and if people want to go all pedantic on me, please go have a conversation. And when you all agree, come on back. I'm not going to go down the pedantic line on that. I use the word, I use the phrase.
That's right.